This is probably the point of just about any Genshin Impact update cycle that people start turning their attention away from being hyped for new shit to talking about there being no content in the game, or bitching about insert character here reruns, but it's going to be Kazuha by the time this comes out, to MTAT quitting the game for the 487th time. Look, I did it in the last update, so I'm not immune either. But today's video seems like a good time to talk about the why of this happening. So the first aspect is something I've hinted at talking about before, but I really think I want to get into more of it now. The structure of events in Genshin Impact. Keep in mind, I'm only talking about the event content here, not the permanent story or gameplay add-ons. These also include things that have returned before, like Theater Mechanicus or the recent Misty Dungeon return that I just finished as of recording this video, actually. It took like a week, but anyway, there's actually a pattern to how a lot of these events run. They normally start on Thursday or Friday, for example, which is why you spend a couple of days not even having the events on release day. By the end, though, miHoYo is building hype for the next version, and we'll think about what kind of events are normally at the end of an update cycle versus what's the beginning or even the middle. We have stuff like Marvelous Merchandise, Leyline Overflow, you know, mostly very basic things, hardly any unique gameplay to be had, and that's even counting an event just having its own domain as a unique one. And even then, the ones right before that are normally reruns of events that we've already had, or something new that doesn't really need a cutscene, or something like that. If we want to really look at it, there's another similarity with a lot of these late events though. A few days before the patch, there's always an event that runs for 1 week and has something in it every day that's, well, small, and in some cases just extra rewards for something you already do in the game, see Leyline Overflow. Contrast with what's normally at the beginning of the update, or what I like to call the festival event, which normally consists of multiple different items, likely an event currency or two to buy things, including a crown of insight, and either a 4-star weapon and materials to refine it, or a free 4-star character. This event also normally gets a lot of voice acted cutscenes, whereas other events don't get voice acting at all, and many of the end of update ones don't get any kind of cutscene at all. Like, I could go deeper, but basically the idea is that bigger events happen at the beginning of the update and then trickle down in importance as miHoYo tries to get people more focused on what's coming next. But the events also steadily start giving out their content more frequently as you go. But these later events are just tiny bites of gameplay with a slight dollop of paint because miHoYo doesn't really care about these being the focus. The way they market the game, they already want you thinking about the next version by the last week of the update. They want everybody to log in when the new banner comes out. There's lots of Prima gems to be had in the beginning of version festivals. And why is that exactly? Simple. Players want to feel like they're constantly getting new things, but new things take more time to make than it takes for players to fully explore it. So that's the whole reason this drip feed exists and this time gating is a thing. The drip feed even starts at the release of an update. The events don't start immediately, and we're also being given a little information on what's coming after this update is over. Now that we know everything we're going to get in this update, you know, puzzles to try to parse answers so that we can see what we should potentially prepare for later. Part of the point of my videos, and also why I tend to take my time a little bit with said videos, mind you, is to have an as accurate an answer as I can, as quickly as I can. And think about it. I upload once a week. How many channels are there that upload every day and have longer videos simply by doing the same thing miHoYo's doing? Drip feeding their content to their audience over time, not doing everything all at once. But by the end, they just run out of things to drip because they use miHoYo's content faster than miHoYo makes it. So now we start seeing the meat of the matter, don't we? There's a lot to talk about with Genshin Impact. You can talk about lots of detail about how to use characters in combination with each other, like I did in my Ito and Goro video, which constellations are more valuable in comparison to one another, like I did with my Eula and Albedo video, and even analyze the data like I do in half the content I create, Genshin related or otherwise. But the point is, the content creators have to make content whether Genshin is providing something worth adding to that day or week or not. To be honest, I can't really blame miHoYo for this problem. Keeping people's attention for 6 weeks when you only have so much time to program for them is hard. And on top of that, you need to have reasons for people who are newer to have plenty to do and to not feel left out. Having to appease players of lower skill levels or using controls that aren't as finite. You have to appease so many people that a YouTube audience doesn't have to appease. Everyone on YouTube or Twitch has a more focused audience, but well, this is especially prevalent for Twitch, but definitely applies to YouTube as well. You need that audience to be engaged with you for more of that time in order to stay competitive. Yeah, I know it sounds like I'm saying it's YouTube and Twitch's fault, and in a way I am. Don't get me wrong, there are real issues on MiHoYo's end, but I don't think most of what's talked about are it, and it comes down to issues with the current cycle of content creation online that I feel, but I've never really talked about. I've never really liked pinning my channel down to only one genre or topic because it can get incredibly limiting. However, in many ways, that's the expectation that people have. Focus your content as narrow as possible, and your audience will come back frequently. And make sure you upload that frequently as well, or the metrics won't be in your favor. I've never really played that game very well because it leads to burnout a lot quicker than just making things you like and talking about what you want to talk about does. People are complex. They aren't just one thing. My series where I change topics from video to video and sometimes can even change topics within the video, that's my most popular series, so clearly my strategy has some merit. But if you make your name doing Genshin Impact, people are naturally going to fall off when you talk about something else. Same with any particular video game or card game, or well, even if you're a wrestling channel and decide to do something relating to a different topic. Sure, there's strategies for diversifying that people can take that can push them to something else. I've used a few of them myself. But while I can agree that MiHoYo might need a more robust version of Spiral Abyss at this point, that's not why people are running out of things to do. A lot of people think that Genshin will get better as more competition comes out, and I'd be inclined to agree. Not 100% for the same reasons that some of them do, but hear me out. Genshin released when nothing was being made, and they took advantage. They have a foothold, but if they don't keep up, they'll slide back down. But let's not pretend they can just magically release the entirety of 1.0 every 6 weeks here. There are improvements that need to be made, but it's not outright the lack of content from Genshin that has people burnt out. It's that most of those people don't have anything else to play. So Genshin feels like less when it's the only thing holding up your free time. Free time, mind you, that may even be more than it was before. I know it is in my case. I joked about dunking on Imtash earlier, but, well, he's a good example of what I'm talking about, really. He started out in Destiny. I don't know that that's where he started, but we'll just go with it for now. When he moved towards Genshin Impact content, he lost part of his following in that transition. That isn't fair to him. Don't get me wrong, if people were just watching for Destiny, then they probably weren't people he was going to keep anyway. But well, I think someone should be able to make multiple different types of content, especially in the same subgenre of video games, and at least have some crossover appeal, right? And not to have to be so afraid that every time he wants to make even a single video related to a different game, he has to spend 10 minutes reassuring his audience that he's still going to make Genshin Impact videos when he feels the need to. That's like if every one of these videos, I had to bring up that I still make Boon canon in order to get views. How much you want to bet if I titled this video Boon Canon Impact, it would get way more views than most of my Genshin content. See, that's a big part of the point here, and not just me bitching about the fact that people don't watch stuff that doesn't have Boon canon in the title. Version Burnout isn't a Genshin problem, at least not to any extent that's really fair to MiHoYo. It's very much the fault of a world that has evolved to the point where people need such singular focus when they create discourse about any subject that it hampers the ability of that subject to keep up with the very people who are creating discourse about it. I watch a lot of different content from a lot of different people, but to be honest, some of my favorite content creators out of any of them are the ones who are willing to expand what they do and do so in a way that works. So, maybe if that channel you like makes something new, give it a watch and tell them if you have a direction you'd like them to expand in. Communication with us is actually a really good way to tell us what would make your day better. Of course, like I said, this isn't Boon canon though, so nobody's going to actually hear this anyway, so, fuck me, I guess.